You know how your email just knows what's spam? Or how Netflix is weirdly good at guessing what movie you want to watch next? Well, that's not magic. It's actually a really powerful kind of AI called supervised learning. And the secret behind it all is a lot like a student learning from a really, really good teacher.
So, let's start with a big question. Can a machine actually learn the way we do? Can it study something, take a test, and then apply that knowledge to totally new problems it's never seen before? The answer is a huge yes. And the way it does it is through this process called supervised learning.
And the core idea is surprisingly simple. It's something we all get from our time in school. For any student to learn, and in this case our student is a machine, it needs two basic things: a teacher to give it the lesson plan, and a textbook full of examples that also, and this is key, has the answer key in the back.
So let's step into what we'll call the supervised classroom. This is where all the learning actually happens, using examples that have been perfectly laid out and labeled by that teacher. Okay, so here's the absolute heart of it all. Supervised learning works because we feed the machine labeled data. Imagine giving it a giant photo album with thousands of pictures. The trick is, every single picture of a cat is already labeled cat, and every picture of a dog is labeled dog. The machine just churns through these examples over and over until it starts to figure out the patterns all by itself.
The whole process really breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, we give it the labeled data. That's our textbook, and honestly, creating this can take a massive amount of human work. Second, the machine analyzes all that data to build something called a model. You can think of the model as its brain, the thing that will make the decisions. And finally, once it's trained, that model is ready to make predictions on brand new stuff it has never ever seen before.
Now, inside this supervised classroom, our machine can learn 2 main subjects. It can get really good at sorting things into different buckets, or it can learn how to predict a very specific number.
And those 2 subjects are called classification and regression. Classification is all about sorting. It's about putting things into distinct groups. Is this email spam or not spam? It's one or the other. Regression, though, is different. It's all about predicting a specific number from a whole range of possibilities, like guessing the exact sale price of a house.
But hang on, how do we know if our machine has actually learned anything? Or did it just get lucky? Well, just like any good student, it has to take a final exam. And that brings us to training and testing.
I mean, think about it for a second. You would never ever give a student a test that has the exact same questions from their study guide, right? They might have just memorized the answers without understanding anything. The exact same logic applies here. To find out if the machine truly gets it, we have to test it on new problems.
So, the way we do this is actually pretty smart. We split up all our labeled data. We use the vast majority of it, usually about 80%, as the training data. This is the study material, the textbook. Then we keep the other 20% completely separate. That's the testing data, the final exam questions the model has never laid eyes on. How it does on this test tells us how well it really learned.
But there's a really common trap our student can fall into. It's the huge difference between actually learning a subject and just memorizing the textbook word for word. This problem has a name. It's called overfitting. And an overfitted model is like that student who aces all the homework, but then completely bombs the final exam. It's learned the training data too well, right down to all the little random details and noise. So when it faces a new situation, it just can't generalize what it knows.
So here's the real difference. The true learner, that's a good fit. It understands the idea of a cat. It learns the general patterns: whiskers, fur, pointy ears. And that's why it does great on the final exam with new cat photos. But the memorizer, that's overfitting. It doesn't learn what a cat is. It just memorizes the exact pixels of all the training photos, including the weird lighting in one photo or the weird background in another. So when it sees a new cat picture, it fails, because the details don't perfectly match what it memorized.
So, let's say our model has studied hard, it's passed its final exam, and it avoided that trap of overfitting. It graduates and goes out into the real world. And trust me, you would be shocked at where these graduates end up working.
Supervised learning is the engine running behind the scenes of so many things we use constantly. It's the spam filter in your email, it's the recommendation engine on Netflix and Amazon, and it's even used for incredibly important stuff, like helping with medical diagnoses or detecting credit card fraud. It is quietly shaping our world every single day. So the next time your phone recognizes a face in a photo, or your bank sends you a text about a suspicious charge, you'll know the secret. It's a machine that went to school, studied a textbook with all the answers, and passed its final exam. Now that you know how it all works, Where else in your life do you think there's a little teacher and a student working behind the scenes?